Welcome back, I'm the Book Guy, and today I'm going to introduce you to the Powdermage series by Brian McClellan. As always, this is a spoiler-free report on all the good and bad things about the series to help you decide if you want to read it. You won't be pressured by me to read this series, but I am going to have a lot of excitement about reading in general, and I hope to pass that on to you. Also, this is the start of a new monthly theme. Welcome to Flintlock February. A whole month looking at fantasy books that have magic and guns, but a range of emerging technologies like a printing press, factories, and even motorized vehicles. I hope to show you that fantasy can be so much more than what we commonly see with just Middle Ages, swords, and bows and arrows. So Powdermage is currently 2 trilogies of books, each around 500 to 600 pages. So there's quite a good chunk of reading waiting for you if you choose to get into it. You should also know Brian McClellan is frequently compared to Brandon Sanderson. In fact, Brian was actually a student at Brandon's writing course years before Brian got his first book published. And there's a Brando quote on the front of it. So that's the level that Brian McClellan is on.
This is my apprentice, Garth Moore.
This is getting out of hand. Now there are 2 of them.
But just before we talk about all that, I want to do a quick sales pitch for me. I know, I normally do this at the end. If you've ever enjoyed one of my videos, please consider supporting my work on Patreon or on an online shop. So our online shop is Rainbow Space Unicorn. It's my wife's business where you can buy enamel pins like the self-rescuing princess. We also have a range of fidget items for neurodivergent minds. And we have a range of laptop bags that are shaped like books. Seriously, is there a more perfect fit between brand and product? The Book Guy selling book bags, like it's just the coolest thing. So the shop is great if you want to support the Book Guy with the one-off purchase. But if you love me forever and ever till the end of time, you can try out my Patreon. You can be a bookworm, a book mouse, or book dragon. Everyone who joins gets behind the scenes info on my YouTube schedule, you can vote on my content, and there's pictures of my cats and some book reviews. The higher tiers actually get insight into my writing and book publishing and will soon get some advanced chapters and short stories. Okay, thanks for all that. Now let's get straight into the Powdermage. We'll see if this series is going to be right for you. The Age of Kings is dead, and I have killed it. The country Adro has been ruled by corrupt monarchy and its sorcerers for too long. So Field Marshal Tumos has committed a brutal coup to remove the king and has just begun a purge of all the powerful sorcerer cadres. Tumos commands a legion of powder mages, people who can manipulate gunpowder. Combine that with their marksmanship, and these guys can shoot impossibly far and even curve bullets, wanted style. This makes them very lethal soldiers. If Tumos and his powder mages can act fast enough, he just might be able to avoid a full societal collapse and a civil war. Tumos hires private detective Adamat to work the case. You see, every time a sorcerer is killed, they utter the phrase, "You can't break Kresimmir's promise."
What the hell is that?
Who the hell is Kresimir, and how do all these sorcerers know this name? Detective Adamant begins to work the case and uncover an ancient mystery. Something about the old gods and their gifts of magic. Yet Adamant has his own problems. He is in debt to some powerful people. Hiring him could backfire terribly. Tumos' son, Taniel Two-Shot, is considered a Powdermage prodigy. Taniel is assigned to hunt down the remaining sorcerers. His sidekick is Kapol, a mute woman with strange magic from her people across the sea. Together they must hunt down this enemy before they can gather enough strength to strike back. Yet all of this is not enough problems for Brian McClellan. No, sir. Adro is just one country on the continent known as the Nine, and all of the neighboring countries begin to smell opportunity like blood in the water. If Tumos cannot save his country from falling into civil war, he may next have to deal with invasion. So we have civil war, the threat of regular war, hunting down sorcerers, a mystery of ancient secrets, and the threat of old gods returning. Yeah, this series has it all. Oh, and I should mention, this is only Trilogy 1. This series has an awesome magic system. You can tell this guy learned fantasy from Brandon Sanderson, you know, the master of magic systems.
Do you want to learn
Magic systems.
Yeah, then I am your master. Okay.
Let's have a look. So this world has 3 levels to its magic system. We have the Nact, Powdermages, and the Privileged. So Nact are the weakest. They don't have active magic that they can control. Instead, they have one weird ability, like a passive ability that stays with them. For example, one Nact has a perfect memory. Another one never needs to sleep. So they're sort of uncanny and unusual abilities. Powdermages are the cool ones, but note they are a definite step below the privileged sorcerers. So Powdermages use gunpowder to fuel their magic. They can ignite it spontaneously to cause an explosion. They can use explosive force from a gunshot to redirect the bullet or even push it further than it could possibly go on its own. And with a lot of gunpowder, they can wield raw kinetic energy and reshape it, like redirect explosions or even a cannonball. So there's a ton of cool stuff they can do, but there are limits. All of their powers must be blended with man-made tools in order to function. Without gunpowder, they are useless. Now, the Privileged are your more traditional wizards. These guys are rare, but crazy powerful. That's why they've basically been running the country for centuries. Privileged draw their magic from the else, the other realm. They traditionally use their right hand to draw in power and their left hand to redirect it. And they have 5 branches of magic. The idea is one for every finger. So you have fire, earth, water, air, and the aether. The Privileged also wear gloves for ease of summoning magic and as a mark of status. Right glove for drawing in power, their left hand for redirecting it and wielding it. So the best way to defeat them is to cut off their hands. Each of these 3 magic classes have a different role in society, so the Nact can often get high-paying jobs if their gimmick is useful to an employer. Powdermages are strongly encouraged to enter the military, since they need gunpowder anyway to have any power, and the military has all the gunpowder. The Privileged, on the other hand, are almost guaranteed from birth a place of nobility. They're all filthy rich and they're all on first-name basis with the king, hence why they've become so corrupt. This story starts with the removal of the monarchy. So right away, this story is distinguishing itself from hordes of fantasy books that have come before. Royalty has, and still does, feature everywhere in fantasy. We've seen lost princesses, characters who are secretly royalty, and quests to reclaim the throne.
Well, excuse me, princess.
Side note, but monarchies are usually glorified and romanticized in fantasy. In reality, monarchies are a terrible thing, and it kills me that people don't know this. Like, kings had the divine right to rule, so to challenge them was to challenge God himself. So kings and queens had almost absolute power to pervert justice and to brutally execute anyone who questioned them. You ever see how intense some of those old execution methods were? They were real bad, and how little evidence was required to sentence someone? This is still a sore point for me. People love to romanticize old monarchies, and I personally think there was no such thing as a good king. Hashtag all kings are bastards. But I'm tangenting. The point is, this series starts by utterly removing the classic fantasy trope of monarchies, and asking the question, what happens next? How does a country transition away from a monarchy? What are the myriad of problems you would face? What practical solutions would you need to implement to keep the country running? And guys, this is what Flintlock fantasy is all about. Flintlock looks like it's just about guns on the surface, but it's largely about industrial revolutions and regular revolutions. It's about change and societal progress. And it's about a different period in world history. For example, let's look at the Powdermage world itself. So here's a map of Series 1. This is Adro, our main country. Looks pretty big and significant, right? Well, let's zoom out, shall we? This is the map of the whole world. And this tiny little circle here is Adro. As you can see, it's surrounded by other nations, many of them much bigger, all on this continent known as the Nine. Hence the threat of someone swallowing them up if they mishandle this change in government. But I also want to show you, Adro has several colonies. The biggest colony is up in the northwest in Fatrasta continent. This is where the second trilogy takes place, just so you know.
A surprise tool that can help us later.
So as you can see, this world is big and getting bigger. People are exploring on ships and mapping out the furthest edges of the world. It's a lot like Western Europe during the 15th to 17th century, circumnavigating the globe and discovering the Americas and Australia. And of course, colonizing and enslaving the indigenous populations. But hey, I love seeing fantasy set in a different era to history than we're used to, with all that includes. Okay, so this is where Flintlock really shines. Magic and technology begin to interact with each other and shape the story in fascinating ways. I've actually discussed Flintlock on my channel twice before, technically, and I just want to recap those because they're still relevant. First is Joe Abercrombie's Age of Madness trilogy. Yes, this is technically Flintlock. This is about an industrial revolution and how factories now put everyone out of work, leading to civil unrest. And then we have Mistborn Era 2, which sees trains, cars, and even zeppelins. This industrial boom leads to a rise in organized crime and more sophisticated criminal ploys. Later, we glimpse higher forms of warfare. So Flintlock is not just a cool setting for a random story to take place. Instead, Flintlock massively impacts what types of stories we see. We see how a rise in technology changes the world and our daily lives, and how not everyone reacts well to change. There's a line in Age of Madness in the synopsis of A Little Hatred: "The age of magic refuses to die." I think that's one of the most perfect summaries of Flintlock I've ever seen, because even though technology is progressing, we still see the old ways fighting hard to stay in power. This allows for stories that combine elements of old school fantasy with the modern. In Powdermage, that takes the form of the old gods and the ancient magic that create the privileged sorcerers. Flintlock shows us a conflict between the old and the new. Flintlock also allows for unique story problems. So in Sins of Empire, someone uses a printing press to create thousands of anti-government leaflets. This is a very different problem to traditional fantasy, where someone would have to stand up in a crowded place and give a speech, or in a sci-fi or urban setting where someone would simply do a social media post. The leaflets allow for anonymity and widespread influence. It's the kind of problem you don't really see anywhere else. Now, this may seem like a pretty innocent example, but there's a lot in this genre that will be new and exciting even for established fantasy readers. Alright, so in this series, plot and characters are intrinsically linked, so we're going to do them together. There are three main story branches in Trilogy 1. There's Field Marshal Thomas leading the army, there's Detective Adamant investigating the sorcerer's secrets, and there is Taniel Two-Shot hunting down the sorcerers. So Thomas is very much like a Napoleon figure, but without his eccentricities and extreme ambition. Thomas is a military leader and a figurehead that takes over a chaotic country. Now, Thomas has been quite merciless in his takeover. He knows that the stakes are so high that there's no room for mistakes, but this ruthlessness could very easily turn him into a tyrant.
There is no mercy.
Thomas is surrounded by soldiers who adore him and would die for him, yet he faces enemies who call him a monster. Which side is right? Thomas has also sacrificed so much in his life to come this far. His wife died years ago, his relationship with his son fell apart. Thomas has almost nothing left but his determination to leave a better legacy for his country. He just has to be careful that he himself doesn't become worse than the old king. Adamant's plot is all about investigating old secrets. I can't reveal too much about this one, but I can add Adamant has one of those crazy big families with like 8 or 10 children, and they're all in danger. So Adamant left the police force originally to start a printing press, but the press burnt down the building and he lost all his money, and only then realized that his lender was not a bank but actually a mobster loan shark. Mobster shark, do 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 do, mobster shark, do 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 do, mobster shark, do 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 do, mobster shark. This bad guy has threatened Adamant's family if the loan isn't paid off. That's why Adamant went back to work as an inspector to pay off that loan. Adamant is a knack, and his ability is a perfect memory, which makes him uniquely skilled as a detective. He could be a big help to Thomas and the revolution, or he could be a massive liability. Now, Taniel Two-Shot is a fan favorite. This guy is basically John Wick. He knows gung fu. Taniel has the most action scenes, the most dangerous missions, and the biggest magical showdowns. Every time he shows up on page, all the fans rub their hands together and go, "Oh boy, here's another Taniel chapter."
Oh boy, here I go killing again.
While our other two protagonists are in their 40s and 50s, Taniel is in his early 20s. He's skilled and talented, but he's also not quite sure who he is and where he's going. He knows hunting the corrupt sorcerers is a good thing, but he doesn't know much more beyond that. Taniel's morality and purpose is questioned a lot in this series. One thing I'll just acknowledge here, you might have noticed that all three of our main protagonists are male. Well, yeah, this is a pretty male-dominated series. But I will say all three of these plot lines have women as side characters, all in supporting roles. But anyway, of particular note is Vlora and Capole. So Vlora works with Field Marshal Thomas. She's a leader in his army, one of his closest supervisors, and also his adopted daughter. So Vlora is the one most dedicated to keeping Thomas from becoming a tyrant. She was also Taniel's fiancée at one point, but that ended badly. Vlora is a damn good powder mage and tactician and becomes a major protagonist in the next series. And Capole is strange and wonderful. She's mute, so she only speaks with sign language. She has strange magic from her old country, where she can track people using only a piece of their hair, and other uncanny abilities which I'll leave for you to find out. Capole is another fan favourite because she has so much personality despite having almost no lines of dialogue. Look, the magic system gets all the glory. In my opinion, the best thing about this series is how bloody perfect the pacing and action is. You see, these books are a bit on the long side, but they are far from boring. This is a fast-paced story that keeps moving forward. Each book starts strong and just goes hard from there. There are no boring bits. Part of this comes from just killer action scenes. This is how you write action. It's not just a bunch of movement, it's tension. It has to mean something. I still find myself thinking all the time about the Crimson Campaign, Book 2, where there's a major military action and multiple action scenes going back to back. Multiple battles all part of one war. I genuinely think this is one of the best ongoing action sequences I've ever read. It's right up there with Malazan's Siege of Yugatan, or Wheel of Time's Aiel invasion of Kyrian. The quick pace and plenty of action goes a long way to making the series very readable. This is pretty easy to read because there's always something happening. I found myself getting sucked in and reading far longer than I planned to into the night. It's just one of those series. One last thing about Trilogy 1. So Book 1 is the takeover and the consolidation of Adro. Books 2 and 3 include a lot more military strategy and warfare, but I have to say, Book 1 is not the strongest beginning. It's kind of just a mediocre novel, it's alright. The world building and magic is really well done, but I'd say a lot of the plot is flimsy and character writing is very one-dimensional, so it's inconsistent in quality. Whereas books 2 and 3 are brilliant. The step up in quality is huge, like much stronger character writing, much tighter plots. Look at their Goodreads score for comparison. There is a noticeable step up from book 1 to 2 and 3. Part of this is because Brian McClellan was published young. He was 26 when Promise of Blood came out. And in many ways, I feel like book 1 was his practice novel where he figured out how to write. I suspect that this is why this series hasn't become uber popular, because a lot of people didn't read past book 1. But remember, book 1 is just merely good. Books 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are brilliant. That's not a bad ratio. Okay, now let's finally look at where the series goes into Trilogy 2. Across the sea, in the Adro colony of New Adapest, tensions are brewing. It's been 10 years since Adro removed the monarchy and the country is still weak. The people of Fatrasta are starting to think that maybe it's time to rise up against their colonizers and reclaim their land. Welcome to Landfall, capital city across the ocean. It's a cesspit of criminals, pirates, mercenaries, and thieves.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
General Vlora, veteran of the events of the last series, now lives in the capital Landfall and runs a successful mercenary group, Riflejack Mercenary Company. She's been hired by the government of Landfall to find dangerous insurgents, the local Polo people. The Polos claim that they will free Landfall from Adro rule. Vlora must wage a war of shadows against a sneaky new enemy. Mad Ben Stykes was a revolutionary and traitor to the Adro Empire. He's been in jail for 10 years now for fighting alongside the local Polo people. Now a faceless, mysterious man sponsors Ben's release from prison on one condition. Ben Stykes must join Vlora's mercenary company and keep an eye on her. To what end? Ben doesn't really care. Not at first. And Mikkel Brevis is a secret agent working for the Black Hats, the Fatrasta secret police. He's been tasked to track down whoever is using the printing press to create anti-Adro propaganda leaflets. The leaflets are called Sins of Empire, listing all the things Adro has done wrong since it conquered Fatrasta. Agent Mikkel needs to uncover the secret of who is making these leaflets, yet Mikkel has a few secrets of his own. All three of these characters are encountering mysteries that seem to have a lot in common. Is it all one vast conspiracy? The stability of Fatrasta is being threatened on all sides, and it could all unravel in a moment. So this trilogy is very separate to the first one. Brian McClellan actually calls it a standalone trilogy. So it's 10 years later and across a massive ocean. If the last one was in England, this one is in America. The same magic system is in place, and Vlora is the big crossover character between the two of them that connects the trilogies, and yet 90% of the story is completely new and original. You could technically start with Trilogy 2. Side note, if you did start with Trilogy 2, you will get some major spoilers. They refer to the events that ended the first trilogy, you know, who won the war and deaths of major characters, that sort of thing. But all the smaller plot details and character arcs would be left unmentioned. You should also know, this series is yet another jump up in quality. Brian McClellan levels up again in this trilogy. Many fans agree Trilogy 2 is his best work. If I were to give it a number, I would say Book 1 is a 6 out of 10, Books 2 and 3 are 8 out of 10, and the entire next trilogy is 10 out of 10. Now, I'm going to avoid getting into much detail about Trilogy 2 because this trilogy is a lot more mystery focused. It still has military campaigns, but there are some big plot twists that I don't even want to touch. Yet it does still have a similar structure of 3 protagonists that are the focus of 3 plot lines. Vlora is trying to leave the past behind. She's no longer in the military, and yet warfare is all she knows. Hence, the mercenary group and the Riflejacks are probably the best group there is. Here's the thing though, Vlora left Adro military because she realized the world wasn't as black and white as the military allowed for. And yet this world of fighting insurgents and using guerrilla warfare might be even more morally grey than she anticipated. Ben Stykes is looking for redemption. He's known as Mad Ben because of his berserker rage in battle. His whole life has been violence, followed by 10 years in prison. Ben wants to do better. Yet, if he's honest with himself, he still believes in the cause. He would gladly see Adro rule banished from Fatrasta. Yet now he's spying on the woman who is fighting the local freedom fighters? Yeah, Ben's loyalty is about to be tested. Mikkel is a good old-fashioned spy. He fulfills a similar role to Adamant in the first trilogy, in that he's a detective hunting down the mystery. But Mikkel is a lot more mysterious of a character. Everything he presents to us is a mask of professionalism. Is he just serious? Is he sociopathic? We don't really know. This guy is as big of a mystery as the mystery he's investigating. And that's all I'm saying. This whole plotline I'm just not touching. All I'll say is, wink. There's no bad representation in this series, but there are a few gaps. For one, women are a little underrepresented here. Now, I know people will be quick to scream, but Vlora, but Capole! Yeah, I know these two characters are very well written, but there's also just the two of them.
There are already enough girl characters, we don't need a third!
It's a far cry from 50-50 gender representation, and there's no chance of it passing the Bechdel test. This series is majority male. That being said, race is a big part of the conversation. With the removal of the monarchy, there is a shift in national identity. There are tensions with neighbouring countries, not to mention a huge discussion around colonization and indigenous populations. There is some LGBT in this series, though it's a bit on the subtle side. I actually had to look it up and research this because I couldn't remember any of it. But it's there. There are gay and bisexual characters, some of them are even main characters. We have big disability rep for mute people. Capole uses sign language, and much of her dialogue is written in italics. The big thing that stuck with me from reading this book is that Capole could be surrounded by a room full of people, but if only one speaks sign language, she's very isolated. This representation is handled with such empathy and care, it perfectly shows what representation is all about, teaching us to have greater understanding and empathy of how other people live. So there is consistent violence from like page 1. There's lots of warfare, battles, shooting, yet it's not too explicit. Think Brandon Sanderson, you know, when the worst is alluded to. This is warfare, but not like Saving Private Ryan, more like Dunkirk. There is no swearing at all, which is Weird, considering how military the books are. You ever met a soldier who didn't swear like a sailor? There's no sex or particularly adult themes, though there is an attempted sexual assault in book 1, and from memory there's an execution similar to a crucifixion where the victim is naked. But that's all. Just a bit of light crucifixion. I don't know what you're worried about. Yes, Trilogy 2 has a big bang and wraps up all the plot lines. That said, there is still a lot of the world that we haven't seen. I very much hope for more Powdermage stories in time, though Brian McClellan is currently working on a new series, Glass Immortals. I have heard good things about Glass Immortals, but I am waiting until the series is finished so I can binge it. So there's no word if more Powdermage is coming. I hope there is, but as it stands, each trilogy offers a true conclusion to its story, so there are no cliffhangers for you. As I said, the first book, Promise of Blood, is merely okay. It's not the best, it's not bad either. If you want to see the true quality of the series, read book 2, Crimson Campaign. If you're reading Promise of Blood and you're a bit underwhelmed, I strongly encourage you to push through. But if you've read book 2 and you're still not interested, you can stop there. I hope you will enjoy the series. I sincerely hope that more people read outside of the usual fantasy box and try new things. So I hope you enjoy Powdermage. Good luck and happy reading. Next week we're doing more Flintlock, though I'm bending the definition just a little bit because I just want to do a video on Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. Yes, a whole video on just one book. It's that good. Afterwards I'm doing the Gentleman's Bastard series, including the Lies of Loch Lamora, and if I have time this month, Lightbringer by Brent Weeks. As I said at the start, you can support me with the shop or Patreon, otherwise you can boost the video with a comment or a like. I hope you learned something today. I hope you're feeling inspired to read. I love reading. I love you, and I will see you next week. I hope you enjoy a good book today. Bye!